Okay, good morning everyone and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning as we are studying together Parashat Vayishlah. The Netivot Shalom, he asks on this week's Parasha, very basic question. We know, ask any kid, Esav and Yaakov are brothers. Who's Esav's brother? Yaakov. Who's Yaakov's brother? Esav. Everyone knows that. And so the question is, so why is it that the Torah, every time it mentions Esav, it seems to repeat that he's his brother. He's the brother of Yaakov. It says it a few times. And we already know it from the beginning, right? We know they're twins. It's unnecessary for the Torah to keep repeating itself. So as an example, Vayishlah, this parasha, we just read opening pasuk. Vayishlah Yaakov malachim lefanav el Esav ahiv. Right? He sends malachim to Esav, his brother. Why does it have to say that it's his brother? Okay, this is the question. Not only that, but we know Yaakov prays, Hatileni na miyad ahi miyad Esav. Please save me from my brother, from Esav. So this is the Netivot Shalom, Be'ezrat Hashem. We're going to try to give some insight today into this idea of Esav, the brother of Yaakov. And we know the most famous Dvar Torah, an answer to this, is that Yaakov was praying because there are two types of Esavs in the world. There's two types of anti-Semitism. There's anti-Semitism of the Esav, who's coming with a gun and a sword and wanting to kill us. And then there's the brother of Ahi, of the anti-Semitism of brotherly love, where they show their friendship, but they're very, very dangerous. And that's the Ach, the brother, and Esav, right? The two-faced, the different threats that we have. And that's one idea. But I don't want to go into that today. Maybe we'll touch on it. But the Netivot Shalom has two answers of his own. Of course, we know, Esav doesn't just represent the brother, Esav, the person. Esav is also the Yetzer Hara. Yaakov Avinu is the Kedusha, he's the holiness. And Esav is coming to fight him. Esav represents evil, the Sitra Hara. And so we find in this parasha that Yaakov is alone and the angel comes to fight him. This mysterious man fighting him all night long. Who is this man? Doesn't really say. What's his problem? We don't know. We don't find a man fighting Yitzchak randomly. We don't find a random guy coming and fight Avraham. It's Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov, who is Yisrael, that is the Jewish people, that is us. Yaakov is fighting. It represents this battle, this lifelong battle that we are fighting against our own evil. The evil within, the Yetzer Hara, the forces that try to pull us down. And so this is what the Esav represents in the parasha. It's not just a physical person, it's the embodiment of evil. So as an example, he comes to fight Yaakov with how many men? 400 men. Very interesting number. Why is Torah telling this to me? Does it matter how many men? Is 400 even a lot? You have to imagine Yaakov had, at this point, right, 11 sons. Yaakov was probably very, very filled with many workers, many strong men of his own. So I don't know that 400 is such an impressive number. But the number 400 is not just physically how much he's coming to fight Yaakov with. He's coming with 400 is a number of spiritual negativity, a spiritual danger. 400 is, we know, Ayin Hara. Anytime you find 400 in Torah, it's no good. 400 years we were decreed to be in Egypt. 400 is the numerical value of Ayin Ra, right? Evil eye. So 400 is an evil number. Ephron sells Me'arat HaMachpelah for 400, so on and so forth. So the idea is that Yaakov, he is now fighting, he's battling his evil impulse, his inclination, and he's teaching us in this parasha, my friends, how to fight the Yetzer Hara. So what does he do? How does he fight? Well, he splits his camp into two. explains in Netivot Shalom, this represents that there's two approaches that the Yetzer Hara has. Because there's two types, there's two camps of Jews. There's two lanes to be Oved Hashem, to serve God. Both are beautiful, both are holy. This is found in the famous Beraita, in the famous Gemara. The Gemara says, Lo yamush sefer HaTorah hazeh mepicha. This Torah shall never leave your mouth. It's a pasuk in Yehoshua. The Torah shall never leave our lips. Yachol devarim kichtavan. Should it be understood literally that I have to learn all day long? Tamud lomar, it can't be, because I have another pasuk. Ve'asavta deganecha. You have to also harvest. You got to plant. You got to engage in farming, in business. Haneheg banehem menhag derech eretz. One must engage in the ways of the world. In commerce, I have to attend to my worldly needs. I can't sit all day and learn. I gotta build a home. I gotta build a company. I gotta exercise. I gotta do things. So, you're right. Derech eretz. You have to learn and you have to work. This is what we call Toraim Mada approach. This is the approach of learning and working together in one. This is done by many people today. Toraim derech eretz. This is Rav Hirsch's approach. This was many great people in history that they believed in this hybrid, that you needed both. Rabbi Ishmael, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Omer, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, what are you talking about? If shar adam choresh b'shat harisha, if you're going to end up plowing in the plow season, v'zoreya b'shat zeriyah, and you're going to plant in the plant season, kotzeh b'shat ketzirah, and harvest in the harvest season, and thresh, and winnow, Torah mateh aleh, how you going to ever learn Shas? How you going to ever write halacha books? How you going to finish Kol HaTorah Kula if you're going to be engaging in commerce? You can't. Mateh aleh. And therefore he says a person should sit and learn all day and trust God to do his business for him. That's Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. Okay, this is a huge, huge machloket. Not today. It's not a machloket today in Israel between, fight and learn. This machloket dates back thousands of years to Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, who says, learn. Just trust in Hashem for everything. And Rabbi Ishmael says, what are you talking about? You can't do that. You need to do derech eretz. You have to engage in the world. And the Gemara's conclusion is that many people did like Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and they didn't succeed. And the rabbis explain that the approach of Rabbi Ishmael is the correct approach for the masses. Majority of people, their service of God is by engaging in the physical world. And that doesn't make them any less holy, by the way. That doesn't make them less kadosh. They're still very connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Male'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha. There's many ways for a person to connect to Hashem. The Maggid of Mezrich says, Male'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha doesn't only mean that the world is filled with God's acquisitions, but it also means Male'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha. There's many ways to acquire Hashem. There's many ways to connect to Hashem. You could connect in learning. You could connect out there going for a walk in the park. Rav Hirsch famously was putting on one time his boots. Rabbi, where you going? He said, I'm going hiking on the Alps. You going hiking, Rabbi? He says, one day when I get to Shamayim, God's going to say to me, Hirsch, what'd you think of my Alps? What am I going to say? I have to see the Alps. He was able to connect to Hashem going for a hike. Marabu ma'asecha Hashem, what a beautiful world. Rav Kamenetsky says, when you're driving and you signal to warn the guy behind you and you drive safely, that's Kedusha, you're connecting to Hashem. There's many ways to connect to Hashem. Male'aretz kinyanecha. And even Rabbi Ishmael's approach is a holy approach. It's a holy approach. I just read yesterday in the Mesilat Yesharim. We've been studying this book for 5 years. And Baruch Hashem, we finally yesterday reached the conclusion where we'll be doing the Siyum, God willing, this upcoming week. It's such an accomplishment. Mesilat Yesharim, one of the classics, must read for every single Jew, every person, if you ask me. And it's just, it's a special thing to be able to spend 5 years on a topic, on a book, consistently, every single week, without missing, and to finally complete it from A to Z. We have a lot of books that we started and we're in the middle, and so very few people get all the way to the end of a year. But Ramchal, he says like this at the end. I want to read it to you. It's just gorgeous. V'zeh pashut, it's obvious. Ki kol adam lefi ha'umanut asher beyado ve'ha'esek asher hu osek, kach tzarich lo ha'ishara ve'hadracha. It's every person according to his profession and according to the business that he's in. He has to approach a path of Hasidut on his journey. Ki derech Hasidut hara'ui lemish torato umanuto, because the path of Hasidut that's suited for a person whose vocation is Torah study, whose vocation is like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who's learning all day. Eno derech Hasidut hara'ui lemish tzarich lahaskir atzmo lemechet havero. Is not going to be the same Hasidut that's going to be for the person that's compelled to go into the business. Or for someone who's going to be his own boss, etc., etc. Every person could achieve Hasidut appropriate to his own lane that he's in. Not because Hasidut in its nature changes. Because it's truly the same for every person. But because individual circumstances change, the means through which I arrive at the ultimate goal. How do I bring Kedusha to God? How do I bring sanctification to His name? How do I yitkadal v'yitkadash? How do I make God holy in this world? For each person it's different. וכבר יכול להיות חסיד גמור אשר לא יפסוק מפיו הלימוד, כמו מי שפני צורכו הוא בעל מלאכה פחותה. It's equally possible. Look at this. It's equally possible to be a Hasid Gamur, someone who's in Torah study all day, כמו מי שפני צורכו הוא בעל מלאכה פחותה, or someone who is compelled to engage in earning a livelihood. וכתיב כל פעל השם למענהו. We don't get to decide where Hashem put us in this world. What's our strengths? Does He want us to serve Him here? Does He want us to serve Him there? Whatever your lane is, you got to know Hashem, you got to connect to Hashem. It's a big mistake to think that this person who is engaging in the physical world is any less holy, could achieve any less hasidut and connection to God than a person who's sitting in the kollel. A very big mistake to think that. This is Ramchal at the end of his book. Look how he closes his book. Whatever your path is in, and this is what the book is about. Ramchal, Mesilat Yesharim, is about achieving chasidut, achieving a connection to Hashem. And he's saying at the end of the book, anyone can achieve that connection equally. There is no difference. If you're here or if you're here, whatever lane you're in, that's where God put you. But you're engaging in the same goal. It's like the JFK, when the JFK saw the janitor of NASA. He said to him, tell me, what do you do here? And the janitor said, I am putting a man on the moon. This man had an outlook that I am a janitor, but I'm putting a man on the moon. I'm not a janitor. I'm not just mopping a floor. I'm putting a man on the moon. I'm involved in changing space, history, space X, all these things. I'm in part of that. I can connect to God in the Beit Midrash. I can connect to God out there plowing. Doesn't matter where. Person could achieve Hasidut. That's why Hashem, by the way, the Hafetz Chaim says, when Hashem planted all types of trees in Gan Eden, He placed right in the middle the tree of life. Why in middle? Because the middle is equidistant. Everywhere around is the same from the middle. right, in a circle. Says the Hafetz Chaim that no person in this world is farther from Hashem than another person. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter where your vocation is. We're all equidistant. And that's what Hashem says to Moshe. The ground that you're on, take your shoes off. Wherever you find yourself, whatever circumstance, you could achieve holiness over there. You could achieve connection. Even if you have to go to Vegas for a show, yes, you could achieve Kedusha over there. You may do other things, unfortunately. But there's a lot of holiness. How many rabbis come to New York from Israel and they say, wow, there's a lot of holiness here in New York. I wish we had this in Israel. I hear all the time. They don't have what they say we don't have in Israel, what you guys have over here. We could connect to Hashem. Look at this amazing story. A student of the Jose of Lublin once spent Rosh Hashanah with the Rabbi. During the visit, he prayed, please Hashem, allow me to earn enough of my weekly needs early in the week, even if it's less money. This way I will have the peace of mind to devote the rest of my week to Torah study and service of Hashem. Okay, so this is the student of the Jose, praying to Hashem on Rosh Hashanah, allow me this year to make enough money early in the week so I could spend the rest of the week learning Torah. The following day when he went to take leave of the Rebbe, the Jose of Lublin told him, you should know your prayer to Hashem brought a lot of amusement in heaven. Put a smile on their face, that cute little prayer of yours. Do you really think that the few rubles a week you are willing to forego play a significant role in heaven? Does Hashem lack money to give? For the peace of mind that you seek, who says that Hashem wants you to learn and pray with peace of mind? Maybe He wants you to do mitzvot in the office with the headaches of commerce. Al tomar likshe'ipane eshne shema lo tipane. Don't say, when I have time, I'll learn. Why? Maybe you won't have time. But the rabbis read over here, don't say, I'll learn when I have time. Maybe Hashem doesn't want you to have time. Maybe Hashem doesn't want you to learn with time. Maybe Hashem wants you to learn when you're pressed for time. Maybe that's what He wants from you. Maybe that's your avodah. Right? So, anyways, I just thought this is a beautiful idea at the end of the Mesilat Yesharim, something that very few people maybe ever get to. I thought you would appreciate that. But either way, coming back to the idea of the Netivot Shalom. There are two types of camps. He splits his people into two. Yaakov Avinu says there's the camp of learners and there's the camp of workers. Two approaches. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Torah with avodah, or just Torah. Both are great. Both connect to Hashem. Both could acquire God. Male'aretz kinyanecha. But he says, Esav approaches each camp differently, depending on the camp that you're in. And you got to know how he's approaching you if you're going to fight him off. You see, out of these two groups, it's a little easier for him to attack the one engaged in the material world, because after all, they're already material, they're already physical, they're already more drawn down into this earth. So the pitfalls are much closer to them. It's the people in Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's camp, the learner. There's no women in Kolel. What's he going to do? How's he going to get a guy to have inappropriate acts? There's no women there. How's he going to get the guy to fall? There's no not kosher. There's no averot. There's no stealing. You can't steal. You can't mess a guy over in business. There's nothing to do. Even if he wanted to sit, he can't. You know what I mean? Okay, today Unfortunately, they have iPhones. You can sin with the iPhone. But I'm saying, if you go to a yeshiva kid 20 years ago, how is a kid going to sin in yeshiva? The kid's protected from A to Z, bulletproof. So how does he get the Kolel guys to sin? Says the Netivot Shalom, he gets them to sin not in their actions, but in their thoughts. Their thoughts. Mahshavot. Impure thoughts. Thoughts of arrogance. Thoughts of I'm better than. These are the thoughts that he tries to plant into the group of the learners of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai camp. The other group, they're going to have their pitfalls, but like we said, their pitfalls are very present. They're engaging. There's temptation. There's lust. There's materialism. There's food questions. There's averot very all over the place. Any businessman knows how tempting it could be all over. There's averot. And he gets them to fall physically. So Yaakov says, he's worried, Pen yavo vehikani em al banim. He'll hit mother and children. Very interesting phrase. Explains in Netivot Shalom, em in Kabbalah represents a thought. A mother is the conception, is where the child is conceived. Right? So the mother is the thought to action. Right? Mother is what thought is to action. It's like a mother to a child. Thought leads to action. Em is the thought. Banim is the action. Yaakov is warning his children. He's warning us. He's saying to fight the Yetzer Hara, we have to be careful, depending on the camp you're in. You got to know how he's coming. He may come here, he may come here. So an example, a guy who's learning may look at himself and feel great. I'm not sinning. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I eat kosher. I don't do anything averot. Yeah, but that's not your fight. Yetzer Hara is not coming to attack you in your actions. He's attacking you in your thoughts. What's going on up here? How pure are your motives? Why are you learning? Are you flexing? Is there conceit? These are the thoughts. That's the Yetzer Hara for you. And he could trip them up. He quotes from the songs, one of the songs of Shabbat. I'm not familiar with this song. I'm not sure if anyone out there is. If you are, please send me a song. I'd love to hear it, a copy of it. But there's a song, Adir Ayom Venora, one of the Zemirot of Shabbat. Okay. Zemirot, Adir Ayom Venora. But he says there's a line in this song. And the line says like this, Pedeh Amecha Me'azim. God, please save your nation from brazen ones. Tzonecha miyad gozezim. Save your sheep, your flock, from the ones who are shearing, from the shearers. What does that mean? Save the flock from the shearer. He says, well, if you ever look at a person who's shearing the sheep, he has a very interesting strategy. He doesn't shear the sheep right away. He lets it grow wool very long. He's sitting there, he's petting it. He looks like his friend, right? Why? Because in the back of his mind he knows, I need long wool. The longer the wool, the longer the more I could do with it. So he's feeding the sheep and he's waiting and he's patient and he's protecting it. But what happens at the end? He shears the sheep. The sheep was fooled. He thought the guy is going to protect him. He saw everyone else getting sheared. He thought he's fine. Only at the end to come and to take it away. And he says, so too the Yetzer Hara. Sometimes the Yetzer Hara appears like a friend. He comes like a friend, like the shepherd, standing there, happy, okay. Only at the end to come. He lets us learn Torah. He lets us go to class. But he's all part of a plan. He's a part of a plan. At the end, he's going to cut it all off. He's going to attack. So you got to be on your toes, on the balls of your feet. You got to be careful for the Yetzer Hara. He's going to come and try to use the learning for the wrong things, to corrupt us. Says the Netivot Shalom. That's what it means. Hatzileni na miyad ahi miyad Esav. Please save me from my brother. Please save me from Esav. There's two approaches of Esav, of the Yetzer Hara. For the Rabbi Ishmael camp, he's going to come as Esav. He's going to come as a forbidden fruit. He's going to come as a Isur, as an Avera. Esav, very clear. Hairy, Esav, I see it, he's evil, he's coming, it's wrong. But sometimes he's going to come for the other camp, for the Ahi. He's going to come in your head, you may feel like he's a brother. He's not really a threat. I have no threats where I am, I'm good, I'm kosher. And even in our personal lives, even if we're businessmen, by the way, it could be we reach a level where, thank God, we're not tempted by physical anymore. Maybe we're not doing so many physical averot. We already conquered the not kosher, conquered the forbidden things, immorality, lust. But still, even there's a threat. There's the camp, there's the Esav, who's the brother. He's standing, he's good, he's pushing you, read Tehillim, do good. He's hurting us in our thoughts. He's attacking our mahshavot. And so we have to be very, very careful not to allow the Esav in, whether he's coming in as an Esav or he's coming in as an Ah. Not only that, but just to add on this point before we go to the second answer, that sometimes we know there is an idea of shelo lishma. Mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. Sometimes we do things for the non-altruistic, not the pure reason, and it's okay because it leads to the right reason. We spoke about this in class the other day. Sometimes you can't always be pure motive. If you're going to wait till you're always pure motivated, you may wait forever, Do good, even for the wrong reason. Pray for the wrong reason. Go to shul for the wrong reason. But you do good. Eventually, mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. You'll come to do it for the right reason. But he says, that's only in the spiritual. Only in mitzvot do we say, from the wrong you'll go to the right. But he says in physical, opposite. From the right usually leads to the wrong. A person starts off engaging in physical pursuits for the right reason. Lishma. But often the Yetzer Hara drags him shelo lishma. And you start working out for health, the right reason. But then it becomes very quickly lo lishma, where it becomes about building the body, the physique, the beach, right? And so, miyad ahi, miyad Esav. Sometimes Esav comes as a pure, as an ach, as a brother. But then very quickly he turns to Esav. He takes us from a good reason, and then he pulls us the wrong reason, and now we're lost. I went to work to provide for my family, but now work became an escape. Work became its own religion. That's the problem. When work is taking over the family time. Shelo lishma. And so we have to be very, very careful. And that's what he says, miyad ahi, miyad Esav. One second thought, just for the last few minutes that we have. He says, another idea, another new answer. He says, we know originally good and evil were once upon a time very clear, distinct. Hashem created both, but we saw good was good and evil was evil. It was obvious that evil was bad, was wrong, morally and everything. And that's what the story of the snake represents. The snake is this creature outside of Adam and Eve. It's not part of them. I see it bad. It's outside. When Adam eats from the apple, from the fruit, so what happened is that the evil became part of him. Evil and good became intertwined. That's even what the words itself mean. Da'at tovara. Da'at means to combine, to mix. Like it says by Adam yada'at havashto. Adam he knew his wife. He became one with his wife. Da'at tovara means evil and good became one. The lines became blurred. And not easy anymore to see the right choice, the right thing. To know what's bad, maybe sometimes bad is beneficial. and good could sometimes hurt me. That's only because of the sin. Really, once upon a time, we knew bad was like fire. It was very clear and obvious. Gemara says, "En ben David ba, Mashiach will not come, ad dor shekulo hayav." Wow. Until a generation that's fully guilty. What does that mean? Mashiach's not going to come till we're guilty? Till we're fully guilty? How does that make sense? If partially good doesn't get us Mashiach, then zero good's going to get us Mashiach. Says the Netivot Shalom, yes. Because what's the goal of Mashiach? To bring us back to a stage of Adam pre-sin. When you have a generation filled with mixture of good and evil, that's very far from pre-sin. Actually, in a way, fully evil is better. Because at least it's fully wicked. You call a spade a spade. There's no blurred lines. That's closer to the finish line. When you have something in life that's very dangerous, when you have on something that's 100% poison, that's actually something safer than something that's 20% poison, 10% poison. When you have on shelves in supermarkets food that somehow are okay to eat because it's only 1% cancer, that's the worst thing. That's much worse than having on the shelf poison, toxic. Over there, who's going to drink the paint? Who's going to drink something that's bad for you? But here people drinking away, eating away. Because when things are questionable, that's the Yetzer Hara. Everything becomes today mixed. Tov hara. So Yaakov prays, Hatzileni na miyad ahi miyad Esav. Pray, save me from the mix. Esav was both. Esav had a lot of good in him, you should know. We learn a lot of good things from Esav, Kibur Avayim. That's why Yitzchak loved him. What did Yitzchak love? His hunting skills. That he knew how to shoot a hog from, 300 yards. What did Yitzchak saw in Esav, there was a lot of good. And Yitzchak related to that. He connected to that good. Esav is not all bad. And that's why Yaakov was afraid. Because there's such a mixture. That friend, they have good to them. So you hang out with them because of the good. And for you, there's parts of them that are going to pull you the wrong way. They're bad. It's not something that you need right now in your personal life. Not that you should judge them. But there's a certain person in class that's not good for your kid to hang out with. Now, if the kid is fully bad, your kid's not going to hang out with him. The problem is when the kid is questionable. There's bad elements that are rubbing off on your child the wrong way, and you want your kid to stay away from that. But the kid also does good things, and that could sometimes trick you into hanging out with him. So he says, please save me from that. In a way, he was more afraid of Esav, by the way. He never prayed to God, please save me from Lavan. Lavan was the biggest trickster. And that's why Yaakov was okay with him. Because I know that's him and this is me, and I'll never confuse the lines. You send a kid to public school, he knows public school is goyim. So as bad as it is, he's not going to think in his head anything about Halloween, about Christmas, about all these holidays. Problem is when you send him to a Jewish school. The Jewish school is all postmodernism and accepting. And now in the Jewish school where there's a little bit of good, they're Jewish. And then they're teaching corrupt things. In a way, that's much more dangerous. Because the kid's now all confused. That's why a lot of parents, if they have to put their kid in a certain school because of for academic reasons, for special ed, whatever the reason may be, sometimes the only option for Jews, there's Jewish schools maybe that are not ideal. They all-inclusive, different types of philosophy and denominations. And a lot of parents will say, I'd rather my kid in a non-Jewish school. Because although there's exposure to more bad, but it's purely bad. And it's very obvious, this is not me, this is not us, we don't do this. There's no confusion for the kid. Whereas opposed to sending him to a school that has less bad, but it's intermingled with the good. And the kid's all confused. I don't understand. They're Jewish and they all do this, so maybe that's what we are, you know? And so Yaakov prays, Hatzileni na miyad ahi miyad Esav. We got to be careful from that in life. Again, every parent has to know their own certain scenario, their own children. But what are the Esavs and Yaakovs? What are the brother Esavs that we have in our lives? Sometimes we're doing things that are bad, but we kosher because we have a little bit of good in it. We justify. We have to make sure that we are aware of that. Miyad ahi miyad Esav. From the evil things that we're doing that also have in it elements of brotherliness, of goodness, to Kedusha. And that's really where we have to watch and make sure that we don't fall. And so these are the advices of the Netivot Shalom, pieces of advice. How to stay away from evil. In remembering, number one, the two camps and the approach of each camp, how they have to navigate with their own Yetzer Hara. And secondly, making sure that we don't allow the brother Esav to trick us into buying in to the entire person. Okay, we'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.